What's up, Leafs Nation? Welcome back to another game preview. I'm Zack Phillips, and today we're going to be taking a look at game number 57 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season as they head to Chicago to take on the Blackhawks on the second night of a back-to-back. A win there, returning from the Four Nations break against the Carolina Hurricanes last night. 6-3 ended up being much tighter than it needed to be, but regardless, you get it done, you get a win. We move on to the second night of the back-to-back here in Chicago. Today will be a little bit of a quicker one, just given some of the uncertainty in the lineup. You don't know how they're going to kind of try to manage some guys, maybe, balance out some players who you don't want playing on the second night of a back-to-back, or just trying to get other guys in who didn't play last night and had an entire 2 weeks off there as well, and trying to make sure they can get back into game action. So we'll kind of gloss over what we've got for some lineups. We'll give out our best bets as well, and as you all know, it is a presentation of Bet365, proud partner of the Leafs Nation pregame and the Leafs Nation After Dark. Open an account with Bet365 today. Bet on a huge range of outcomes. Use code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. That's code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. When you sign up, all caps, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So first thing we're going to do, and as I mentioned there is some uncertainty here right now of like, who's playing, who's not. I imagine for the most part, it's going to stay mostly the same, which makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about doing the pregame video and not having to worry about every single thing about this being changed. But regardless, just quickly glossing over what we had yesterday and touching on some of the changes that we saw. So first of all, heading over to Daily Faceoff to take a look at tonight's lineups. You can see there the first line staying the same. Nyes, Matthews, Marner. I think that's fine. I think they were pretty good last night. I mean, obviously, adjustment to pace of play for Matthews and Marner, but otherwise pretty solid. Down to the second line, the one change that we did see that I wasn't anticipating that it did end up happening as the game started right away. It looked like, or I thought at least, Bobby McMann was going to be starting on the second line left wing, and then they end up changing that. So the anticipation was Holmberg at 3C, and then you get McMann at second line left wing. They end up switching things around. Domi at 3C, McMann on the third line left wing, and Pontus Holmberg up to the second line left wing. And guess what? It pays off. Pontus Holmberg, 2 goals last night. And, I mean, this is a guy that I was looking to take a step from last year. I thought he was pretty good. I thought you were going to get some production out of him. Maybe he's a guy you could step up in your bottom six, and be a contributor, be a guy who on a nightly basis you're looking at and saying, hey, he can generate some offense down there. And it never really came. He always left me wanting more this season. Jumps up to the second line left wing all of a sudden last night and buries home a couple of goals. So maybe this is something to propel Pontus Holmberg where he can find something and he can get it going, and then all of a sudden maybe you've got a guy who could fit into your bottom six there in the long term, because again, I mean, no disrespect to him, I don't think he's a top 6 guy, but I can't see them taking him off that second line left wing for tonight. The only spot that I could really see, and I'll touch on the fourth line first because it'll answer the part about why I think this about the third line. So your fourth line of Steven Lorentz, David Kampf, and Alex Steeves, I don't see why you change those guys. They combined for a couple of goals last night. Alex Steeves gets his first in the NHL. He makes an incredible play over to Steven Lorentz, who drops it back to David Kampf for his for Steve's second point of the night, that is. So no need to change those guys up. You finally get production off a fourth line. Why would you switch things? The only thing that we did hear, was alluded to during the broadcast last night, was that Connor Bedard could potentially be ready to go for tonight. If he is, then I feel like maybe you slot him back in. And if he's going to go in, there's 2 guys that I would look to change. It's not Bobby McMann. It's not anyone in the top 6 or on the fourth line. So it would come to Max Domi and Nick Robertson. And if you're going to maybe look to put in a Ryan Reeves, or you're going to try to put in a Connor Bedard, and obviously I feel like Ryan Reeves is above his speed level there a little bit to jump into that third line. But if you're going to put either of those guys in, it's probably onto that third line in Domi or Robertson spots. I don't see any other changes happening to this lineup. Now, again, I could be completely wrong. The back-to-back kind of screws things up for us here on the pregame show, and we're not going to find out a lot till later. But if anybody goes or anybody changes, that's where I could see it being. Again, I thought McMann was good last night. I thought Robertson had a lot of effort. I thought Domi was a little bit snake-bitten. But I don't think that they were like dominant in the minutes that they played or anything like that. And it's a line that you're looking to develop some identity. You had it for a short spurt when McMahon returned, where the other guys benefited off of it. And then after that, they died down and Bobby McMahon remained the same. He still looked really good. He was a standout player, but it was his line mates, his wingers, his winger and his centerman who just seemed like they were just not up to the pace of play that McMahon was currently sitting at and weren't really able to kind of contribute with the offense like you'd need them to or hope that they would. So if anybody changes, I could see it being there. But otherwise, those are your forward lines for tonight's game against Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks for game number 57. Now, that is your forward lines. We'll get to the defense in a second. But before we do, if you guys haven't heard, well, I don't know, maybe you're new to the channel or maybe you've been sleeping under a rock, but you got to listen up because this is not your average trip that we have coming up. This is the Nation Vacation. It's heading to Music City from March 20th to 23rd. We're packing our jerseys and heading to Nashville to watch Toronto take on Nashville in their own barn. We're talking hockey action, honky-tonk vibes, kind of memories that only come when you roll deep with the Nation crew. Flight packages, we've got them. Non-flight packages, we've got those as well. Whatever works for you, just make sure you get yourself there by heading over to nationgear.ca. Spots are limited, and we are rapidly approaching the date to be heading down to Nashville, so you don't want to miss out on your chance to join the crew down there. Book your trip now at nationgear.ca. That's nationgear.ca. Nashville awaits. We will see you there, ladies and gentlemen. All right, now let's go to our D pairings for what we've got for tonight. And I mean, this is kind of one of those spots where I expect you will actually get a change. And it's not so much because anybody was bad or anything like that. But I mean, you've got Philippe Myers sitting there. We know that they like him, and he hasn't played in game action in a while. This is probably the perfect opportunity to try to just get him in and just get his feet wet, get him some touches there after a period off. You don't want to just let this thing roll out. It's not that anybody played poorly, but just nobody was like, wow, that guy can't come out of the lineup. So, all right, I mean, other than McCabe and Tanev, really, I thought OEL was pretty decent there last night as well. You're not going to take Morgan Riley out. Limits your options right down to Simon Benoit and Connor Timmins. So looking at those guys, I could see a swap there with one of them. For me, if someone comes out, it's probably Connor Timmins, and it's literally for no reason other than this guy smacked his head off the glass last night and had to get stitched up and some repairs. Like, maybe you just give him the day off and you're like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, you're fine, and that's your excuse out. But I could see someone going in. We've talked about internal competition. We've talked about the battle in the third pairing there in the bottom six, or in the bottom 5-6 pairing. Philippe Myers right now is the guy who's pushing in. Yanni Hakanpää still has not really he showed up and then was like, all right, I'm out of here, and hasn't touched ice in a long time. I mean, there was that scare that he was going to play for Finland, and outside of that, it's been relatively quiet from the Hakanpää camp there. I don't know. I think if you put anybody in or you make any changes, I could see Myers going in. And it's honestly like I thought the defense was fine last night, but just maybe you don't want to let the guy sit in the press box forever. And a guy who's been pretty decent in the appearances he's had this season in Philippe Myers, so maybe he jumps in there. But I mean, if he doesn't, I'm not surprised. If he does, I'm not surprised. It's just one of those things where I could see a swap happening. You go down to your power play units, and we're going to keep it the same here tonight. 5 forward unit on the first one. Nyes, Tavares, Nylander, Marner, Matthews. The groups went 0 for 2 last night. And honestly, I thought the second unit was more dangerous than the first was, but I didn't think the first was as passive as we have seen them be for like the majority of the season, where they kind of just like fall asleep at times and decide, I'm not going to shoot the puck here, or no, you take it, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, we've spent most of this in the neutral zone or our own zone, and the other team's gained momentum. It hasn't really felt quite the same the last game last night in those 2 appearances or 2 attempts that they had, but I don't know, you still want your power play to be a little bit more successful. Regardless, that's what you've got for tonight's power play units. And then goaltending, obviously you're not going to go back to Stolarz here tonight and thankfully here now, between the tandem of Stolarz and Wall, we don't have to worry about it too much because we can go back from one to the other, and you're not having to worry about, hey, is Matt Murray going? Is Dennis Hildeby going? No, Stolarz played last night, so Joseph Wall plays tonight, and it feels like you're getting another incredible goalie performance, or at least above average goalie performance, no matter who is in net, and it is a very, very comforting feeling. So that is your goalie situation for the Maple Leafs here tonight. Those are your lineups. Now let's get to our best bet, presented by Bet365, proud partner of the Leafs Nation pregame and the Leafs Nation After Dark. Open an account Bet365 today. Bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION, NATION, all caps. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And let's jump over to our Bet365 page here. We're going to go to the player props again. We lost now 2 in a row, and both of which, Max Domi anytime goals. We were taking some swings on those. We are still up 6.7 units on the season if you've been following along with our bankroll management, how we've been playing these, unit sizing, staking, all that kind of stuff. And, $675 in profit at this point in the year is nothing to scoff at. I believe it's 59 bets that we've got here so far. Our record is not ideal, 21-38, but regardless, we are up money, and we are up money pretty sizable amount. You took some swings at plus 550 on Domi, plus 900 on Domi. Those lose. We're going to go with another plus money bet here tonight. But I think it's one that you guys will not, scoff at me quite as much here on this one. So pulling this one up here over on the Bet365 page, we're going to go to the player props, and we scroll down to the shots on goal market. Don't go to the shots on goal over under. Just go to the milestones shots on goal. We're going to go right down to Matthew Knies, and we're going to go to 3+ in this column here. If you take a look at that one, Matthew Knies 3+ at plus 230. We're going to take a swing on that one. We're going to go half unit, $50 on Matthew Knies. Look, this is a guy who goes to the net front. He understands his role, but he's also a guy who can bury. He gets found very often by Matthews, by Marner, because they create space, they draw attention to them, and he's got enough intelligence and smarts and wherewithal to be able to get to the right position, get his stick on the ice, and be able to generate tips or shots himself, get to the high slot, and be able to be an option for those guys as everyone focuses on Matthews and Marner, who are driving down. He slips into a little weak spot, they find him open, and he gets shots on goal. The one thing I noticed last night as well that was really prominent was his ability to get to the net front on the power play and deflect pucks or whack away effectively. There's no better word for it than whacking away at the pucks on rebounds that pop out off of shots on that power play. He parks his ass in front. He becomes a problem, and he's a guy that kind of just sits there and is able to, fire away at things. And even if they don't end up in, maybe he walks away with 1-2 shots on goal just from sitting in front of the net there on the power play and deflecting stuff or trying to hit rebounds, whatever. And then alternatively, just at 5-on-5 play, he's pretty effective elsewhere as well. So Matthew Knies over 2.5 shots on goal, or if you want to read it this way, 3+ shots on goal at plus 230. I know the other guys on the line are the ones who are going to take up the most oxygen and be shooting the puck much more frequently than he is, but still, I think that he's going to be able to generate. I think that 3+ is very reasonable for him, and at plus 230, I feel like we're just getting enough value on that number to be able to take advantage of it here today. So let's get ourselves another winner. Let's get back into the win column here after the last 2 losses that we've experienced. Again, up 6.75 units on the season, 21-38 record, but we're going to bet $50 here tonight, risking $50 to profit $115 if this one wins. That's all for us here today on the pregame show. We do appreciate everyone who watched, liked, supported. If you disagree with the bet, I want to hear why. Drop your comments below. If you like it, drop it below as well. And also, if you've got your own prediction, I want to hear it. So fire those off in the comments. Like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe here to the channel. We returned for Leafs Nation After Dark last night following the game, and we will be doing another Leafs Nation After Dark following tonight's game against the Blackhawks. Thank you all for watching. We will see you guys tonight. Until then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos. Make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.